You sit next to a stranger on a train, and somehow, within 10 minutes, you've told them something you've never said out loud to your own mother. No hesitation, no editing yourself. It just comes out, easy, like you've known them for years. Then your phone rings. It's family. And before you even answer, something in you tightens. Your voice changes. Shorter sentences. Careful wording. You're choosing every word like it might be used against you later. With a stranger at a coffee shop, you laugh loud without checking yourself first. You overshare a little. You feel, for a few unguarded minutes, completely and fully yourself. No performance, no filter. At the family table, surrounded by the people who've known you the longest, you say almost nothing real. You answer questions. You nod. But the version of you sitting there isn't the whole version. If this sounds familiar, you already know the pattern. It's not that you're incapable of connection. It's that connection comes easier with people who don't already have a file on you. Late at night, you text someone you met online last month. Someone who knows nothing about your childhood, your mistakes, your family's version of who you are, and somehow that feels safer than calling home. Here's what this actually costs you, even if it doesn't feel like a cost. You can be surrounded by people who share your blood, your history, your last name, and still feel completely alone in the room. You walk past your family's closed doors and don't open them. Not because you don't want to talk, because somewhere along the way, you stopped expecting it to go anywhere good. You get good news, a promotion, a small win, something worth celebrating, and your first instinct is to text a stranger about it, not the people who actually raised you. You can stand outside your own family's window, watching the warm light inside, hearing the voices you grew up with, and still feel like you're not fully allowed back in. Psychologists actually have a name for part of this, the strangers on a train effect. We open up faster to people we'll likely never see again because there's nothing left to lose. There's no aftermath with a stranger. No family dinner next week where what you admitted gets quietly brought back up, reframed, or held against you later. With family, every single word carries history behind it. They remember who you were at 7, at 15, at your absolute worst moment. You're never just who you are right now, in this room. A coworker you met an hour ago doesn't carry any of that weight, so you hand them the honest version of yourself, without flinching, because there's nothing there yet for them to judge. The stakes are just different. A stranger holds a small fraction of your story. Family holds almost all of it, and knows exactly where it would hurt most if it ever got used. So, closeness with strangers isn't shallow, even though it looks that way from the outside. It's actually a calculated kind of safety. Low history, low risk, low chance of real judgment. This pattern usually didn't start with the stranger at all. It started at home, years earlier, in a moment when being fully honest didn't feel safe to do. Maybe you learned early that showing too much of yourself got used against you later, in an argument, in a joke that wasn't really a joke, in a memory that got brought up at the wrong time. Maybe you learned that your needs were simply an inconvenience to voice, so you quietly stopped bringing them up in the one place they should have mattered most. You didn't consciously choose to distance yourself from family. You adapted, slowly, to a pattern that, at some point, for some real reason, actually kept you protected. So the world outside your front door became the place you could finally be honest, and the house you grew up in became the place you learned to perform instead. Here's the lie sitting underneath all of it. If I open up to my family, it'll either be used against me or it simply won't matter to them anyway. So you quietly decide that strangers are the only place real connection is even possible for you. But that belief, understandable as it is, isn't actually the whole truth. The truth you're protecting isn't dangerous at all. It's just unfamiliar to say out loud to people who are still gonna be there tomorrow and the day after. You imagine the conversation with family going badly before you've even attempted it once. And that imagined failure alone becomes the entire reason you never actually try. But closeness with strangers was never real proof that your family is unsafe. It was proof that you're fully capable of connection, just not yet with the people who matter most. Here's the quiet trade-off nobody names. Every time you choose the easier stranger over the harder conversation at home, you postpone the one relationship that could actually hold you long-term. You can sit at every single holiday table for the rest of your life and still never actually be there, fully present, if this pattern never shifts even slightly. A phone full of acquaintances and half-known strangers can't replace the very specific comfort of being fully known by someone who genuinely isn't going anywhere. Strangers, by definition, leave. The connection you built over one good afternoon disappears the moment that conversation ends and you both walk away. Meanwhile, the hand reaching toward you at home keeps reaching, quietly, over and over, even in the moments you keep choosing to look away instead. The shift doesn't have to be dramatic or perfectly planned. It's one honest sentence, said out loud to the person you've been avoiding, instead of the stranger who won't even remember it tomorrow. You don't need the perfect conversation, the right moment, or the ideal words. You need one true thing, said clearly, to someone who already actually knows you. Sometimes they genuinely surprise you. Sometimes the person you assumed wouldn't listen, wouldn't care, or wouldn't understand actually leans in for the first time in years. And even when the moment feels imperfect or awkward, naming what you actually feel to yourself first makes it noticeably easier to eventually say it to the people it's really about. Closeness with family doesn't have to look like closeness with strangers ever did. It can be smaller, quieter, a shared cup of tea instead of a full confession. You stop needing every single interaction with family to be fully resolved instantly. And that pressure easing off is exactly what makes real, lasting change actually possible. The goal was never to abandon the strangers who felt easy and safe. It's to stop needing them to quietly replace the family you've been too afraid to fully show up for. Being fully known by people who've seen you at your absolute worst and chose to stay anyway is a different kind of closeness entirely. Slower to build, harder to earn, worth it. One honest text sent to family instead of to a stranger is a small, quiet rebellion against a pattern you've carried for years without even naming it. You don't have to choose between the ease strangers give you and the difficulty family brings. You just have to stop letting one quietly replace the other. You were never bad at closeness. You were just protecting yourself, for good reason, in the one place it mattered most. That protection can come down now, slowly, entirely on your own terms.